Aperture Priority, show number 6, camera bags.
Welcome to the Aperture Priority Podcast, an Avila Studios production where it's all about photography and fun. Now open up that aperture and let some creative light in.
Hello and welcome back to Aperture Priority, show number 6. And I have with me today, Joe Engelbrecht.
Right. Thanks for letting me join you.
Yeah, it was great. And there's a reason I have you here. We got lots of things to kind of go over. It's kind of exciting information. And since you're a traveler, this fits perfectly in. But I kind of wanted to start today as I usually do. I was, scouring the rumor sites. You know, I'm still, my fingers crossed. I was just wondering, did you come across anything new?
It's funny that we had talked last show about some of the Nikon firmware updates, and I was hoping they would roll one out for the 810, and lo and behold, they rolled one out for the 810 and the 610, and they're retro DF cameras. So there's some firmware updates for those, and they add a little bit of capabilities. The 810 firmware update is basically fixes a time zone issue, and I'd hope for more, but maybe next time.
Next time, yeah. Now, I did come across an interesting. There's a guy on YouTube I like to watch. He's called the Angry Photographer.
Oh yeah,
and one of the things I saw in one of his videos that caught my eye, and I had read the article on a different site. And, a lot of people are talking about this new Nikon Z mount. Apparently it is going to be the Z mount. And, it's one of those things. If Nikon does it, they're going to make people mad. And if they don't, another group is like, well, how come you didn't update your lens mount for these potential fast lenses? And supposedly 3 lenses that really caught my eye. I know they've made other patents, and I'll get into another one soon. They have a 52 millimeter patent that was posted, 0.95 aperture, which apparently that's something that can be done with this new modern mount that the F mount is
not capable of doing.
Exactly.
Right.
And then the other lens that caught my eye, I believe, was a 32 F 1.2, which, wow, that's a fast lens. And I think an 85 1.2. So I think that's kind of Nikon's thing, and if we're going to do it, let's go, because for many years, that's been the complaint that Nikon, you can't get these ultra fast lenses. And it's so funny now that all they talk about is like, what does the bokeh look like, and we've kind of gotten to that thing that people want to see what those round balls look like, in the background. So I kind of thought that was kind of neat. The other thing is apparently they're going to try to maybe get it out this year if they could get the sensors. So I'm wondering if they're going to have just one body or maybe more advanced body and one like an entry level. So I'm still crossing my fingers because that's a camera system that intrigues me because of what I potentially want to do. And I'm at the crossroads is like D850 or even the D610, I think is a nice one, for what I want to do for astro work.
Well, the 800E was designed for that. That's a nice choice too for astro work. I own the 610 and the 810, and they're both very decent cameras for that type of work. I know a lot of photographers that do some amazing photographs of the Milky Way and that kind of thing.
Exactly. And even though last year I really got into it, but I found, trying to doing it with the D700, you're dealing with a sensor that's 10 years old that was not designed, for that, high ISO, cause you're going to be out in the middle of nowhere, no light ideally. And that sensor, has to capture that And after a while, you don't want to get these funny artifacts in it.
Yeah.
And even though I'd bring it into Lightroom and try to control the noise, it to me, when I looked at my friends who have a D5 and a D610, it's like, yeah, those guys have the proper gear.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like what I want to shoot for. But I thought that was an interesting rumor that really intrigued me. I know I don't want to be too Nikon biased, but I'm really looking at the chops because I know Sony's getting a lot of hoopla, and deserving things. They deserve it because they really pushed mirrorless.
Right.
But an interesting thing that I've heard, their E mount initially was a crop sensor mount. They have made it work for full frame. But I'm wondering if this is where Nikon and or Canon can really say, okay, we saw how the market went, where it's going. Here's something from the ground up, and maybe they could give them some competition, and competition is always good.
Exactly. Going back to the astrophysics, the photography there, the Sonys have put out some firmware updates because of that infamous Star Eater problem that the Sony mirrorless were having. And it's going to be interesting to see how the big three in Nikon, Canon, and Sony working with the mirrorless area, how that's going to leapfrog each other. Because, for so many years, it was a two-horse race.
Mm-hmm.
Nikon and Canon, one would come out with a camera for a few years that was the camera. Nikon's done a very fine job of coming out with that the D850, and that is a dreamboat of a camera. And Canon's right behind him, and then Sony is coming out with the mirrorless, which is changing the whole landscape of photography. A lot of our colleagues have switched to the mirrorless format, and with some mixed results. It's not a panacea, it's not a silver bullet, and I'm looking forward to see what Nikon has. They've put out some patents, like, as you were talking to, and I think you were alluding to, and I was reading about a patent they put in Indonesia, of all places, of a particular lens mount. I think it was codename NCOS, the Nikos or NCOS patent, and people are speculating that would be the full frame mirrorless lens mount.
Yeah, and I hope, again, I'm hoping to something soon because I'm really kind of nipping. I want to move to a more modern sensor for the projects I have, that I'm pushing it back to maybe late September for a show that I attend in November up in Fresno. So I'm waiting to see, because one of the things I want to do is a night photography shot. And I do have some ideas on where I'm going to do it and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love to see what, Nikon does, announce this, because the other system, believe it or not, it's not Canon or Sony. I don't know if you've seen on Facebook, it's called the GFX, Fujifilm GFX user group.
Right.
And God, those images are gorgeous.
There's some amazing work being done right now. And it's a great time to be in the photographic industry and the business, because the technology has hit it full speed, and there's changes, and it's exciting and cutting edge, and it's a great time to be in the business.
Time. It is. And let's go to today's show's topic is camera bags. And that's another, believe it or not, it may be overlooked, but the designs of these bags have changed, and it's good to see more competition, changes, pushes the envelope for all these different camera bag manufacturers.
That's true. The technology's hit all these different parts of the industry, and camera bags is no exception. Just looking backwards to last week's show, though, it was interesting that some of the feedback we were getting about picking one lens to travel with. And I was thinking, is it possible to pick one bag to travel with? We sparked quite an argument, or quite a debate about what that lens should be. And it was really rather humorous that most of the colleagues and other people that were giving us feedback in the mailbag there, they were saying things like, well, I would take X and Y. They could not settle on one lens. So travel bags is somewhat similar. And, in a nutshell, there's 3 kinds of bags out there. Basically, you have the messenger bag, the one you sling over your shoulder, the backpack, and then you have a sort of a hybrid sling bag, which is the newcomer to the group. And so depending on your style of travel or what you want to, or how you want to shoot when you arrive at your destination really dictates the kind of bag that you're going to be using. I love the messenger bag myself. In fact, I have a think tank messenger bag that I have used and traveled with all over the world. And for what I do, it's perfect. So it's really is really good for a number of things. So I'm just going to go through those real quick. Some of the pros and cons of the bags.
Sure. It's funny you mention that. Right now, I'm looking to upgrade my bags. I have used Tamarack bags almost religiously since the early 90s, and I still have them. They're great bags. But if I were to take every lens and camera out of those bags and just put the bag on,
right,
it's a heavy bag.
Yeah.
It's a heavy bag.
Right.
And I've been noticing that because even friends that go with me on photo shoots, when they pick up my bags, they're like, wow, this thing's heavy.
Right. It is. Right.
And then, I'm going to want one that I can put a little tripod on. And then my current bag, I can do that. But some of the excursions I go to, it's weighing down on me. So I kind of narrowed down. I've been doing a lot of research, and the sad thing is, I want to get back to Tamarack. I didn't see their name pop up anywhere. So for doing research for today's show, I Googled Tamarack, and there it was. So they're still around.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but I'm kind of narrowed down to 3. One is the low pro, the Pro Tactic 450 AW. And then another company that's new out there, Mindshift gear.
Right.
It's the Rotation 180 Horizon 34L. The only thing I would say, can they shorten the names,
Yes.
And then Manfrotto, the Pro Light Camera Bag Bumblebee 230. They're all in the same price range, anywhere from $250 to about $280.
Okay.
They can hold 2 cameras,
right,
3 to 4 lenses, a flash and everything. And the AW stands for kind of like, you got to be careful. It's kind of all weather, but it's not truly waterproof,
Right.
Now they do make a Low Pro does that I looked at first. It's called the Dry Zone 200. And if you go to the website, you can see what you can do with it. It's like $360. I don't know if I want to be walking across a river, a little half submerged with my camera gear, even though they say it's gonna do it. The other thing I really don't like about it, and I used to be a scuba diver at one time, is of all things I wanted to do underwater photography. And at the time I got certified, all your snorkels and gear would come in these, and this is back to the mid 90s. They would come in these basic 4 colors at the time. You had hot pink. So if you were the female, they did hot pink. They did neon green. Then they did a kind of an electric blue. And then there's the obnoxious yellow. And so this Dry Zone bag, it's yellow and black. And I just don't care for the color. I know there's probably a reason why they do it. But then I start thinking, if I'm walking somewhere with a yellow and black bag, that to me just targets you.
Might as well have a bullseye on your back.
Put the bullseye on. Right. Exactly. So I kind of thought, okay, I'm by the water a lot of times. I would never get into the water with my backpack. So that may be a little too much.
Right.
Where the 3 bags I'm looking at, it's nice. It's got that little thing you pull back and it covers your bag.
Right. Little bag cover. Right. So breaking that down then into 3 categories, when would you choose a messenger bag or a backpack or even the sling bag? And so I own all three of them, and they're here in the studio with me. And I was thinking about when I use each of those bags. They each have a function or a particular advantage. So I was thinking about all the pros and cons. So the messenger bag, the one that I really like, the Think Tank Retrospective 30 is what I carry. Man, that thing just holds a ton of gear. I have literally taken that bag to Mexico and Guatemala, and I've had a D810 in there, a Nikon. I've had the 2470 lens. I've had the 70-200 lens and the 200 to 500 lens stuffed in that bag, along with the battery charger, extra batteries, SD cards, compact, and a 17-inch laptop with an external passbook hard drive, all in one bag that slips under the seat of the aircraft. So it's a carry-on, never leaves my sight. And now you're going to say, that's heavy. Yeah, you're right. It is. But the messenger bag really is meant for short haul, short hikes, urban. It does not scream, hey, here's a photographer with a bunch of expensive gear passing by.
Exactly.
Because it's very nondescript. And the thing I love about the messenger bags is you can just instantly swing it around to your stomach and pull anything out of it that you need. So access is really great. And when you're traveling in a subway or a taxi or any kind of car or vehicle, that thing will just flip right around easy onto your lap. It's easy to get around in an urban environment. And so it is heavy, I carry it with a shoulder strap. So if you have trouble carrying things on your shoulder, and this probably isn't going to work for you. If I had to go on a long hike, especially up in the mountains or something, and I had no way to set it down and rest myself, I probably would pick the backpack, which that's really the pro of the backpack. It's really, the backpack is great for carrying a lot of gear on an extended hike. And it can carry oodles of stuff, just like the messenger bag. And you can get away with them. A lot of these backpacks have a way to carry a tripod, by the way. Mm-hmm. And that's something that's really hard to do with a messenger bag. You usually have to carry it some other way. I've seen people that have built slings for their tripods, like a quiver for a bow, and slip it over their shoulders. That's fine. Backpacks, though, they generally have that bullseye target if you're concerned about that. And it's stuck on your back, so it's hard. You got to take it off to get your camera out. If you're traveling in a vehicle or those are all the cons, and they're not as convenient in urban settings. The sling bag, supposed to be the best of both worlds. And it's true. You can flip that thing around your front. Yeah. The drawback, though, is they're all small by design, because if you have to get that thing around from your back to your front, it can't be a gigantic bag. So they're limited. You couldn't possibly stuff all that gear that I just mentioned into a sling bag. So if I had to pick just one, and that's the rule of the game, then I guess I would do the messenger bag. Cause one more thing about backpacks, and this is true. If you're 6 foot tall or taller, I have found it difficult, and I'm a tall guy. I find it difficult to find a camera backpack that fits me properly. Cause for some reason, they seem to aim those straps at about 5'9", 5'10", 5'11", and they really don't fit me that well. So that's a problem that I have personally with the backpacks.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I remember the best fitting backpack I've tried. It's my old Tamarack. Thing is huge, but it supports my lower back. Mm-hmm. And the other one, it's there, but it doesn't really have the support. And then if I put the straps, and I'm not a broad chested guy, it just squishes in me like this, and I digest them all the way. And, and at the time, for how they were designed, I'm getting a little nitpicky, but it was interesting you saying that thing about the sling, because this, and I don't know much about it, but they had a neat site, the Mindshift gear rotation.
Yeah.
There's a part of that you kind of unstrap, and the backpack's in there, but the other part slings across.
Right.
And that looks neat. It's just the thing that I would love to do and I may do this summer, I may just drive down to Santa Barbara and go down to Sammy's and actually try them before, and I would just buy it there.
Right.
Because I look at all these videos on their site, and I've done search on the internet, and they'll say, for 2018, these are the 10 best camera bags to get.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather try it for myself because not everybody's the same build.
That's true. And that is an exciting design feature of the Mindshift Rotation 180, Panorama, and Pro. And they're on my top list too. So I broke my choices into 6. I couldn't. So for $200 or less and $200 or more.
Exactly.
So for the Think Tank Retrospective 30, that goes for about $195. It's a real workhorse. It's got, the dividable tabs and everything. And as I mentioned, you can put everything in there but the kitchen sink. For a backpack, I happen to own a Low Pro Trekker 450 AW, and you can stick a laptop in there. And again, if you're not carrying a laptop, there's probably there's a slimmer version of these same backpacks. That's about $175. And then there's the Mindset Rotation 180 Panoramic 22L, and that's right at $199. And I've seen the reviews, and I'm excited about trying that. But if you got a little more money to burn and you want some more features, and it's really easy to fall in love with the Donkey M Metro RB messenger bag. That is a cool looking messenger bag. And if I had an extra $380 laying around, I would go buy that because I love the rugged style and the capacity and everything about that. Now, here's a new one though. There's a backpack out there, and I mentioned that a lot of the backpacks I'm choosing here have the ability to put a laptop in, but there's a new backpack company that's putting out a product this year. It's called the Vanguard Alta Sky 51D. And what makes this one a little more interesting is it's designed for your cameras and a drone. So if you're into drone photography, this is a serious consideration for you. The Vanguard Alta Sky 51D runs about $230 or so. And then the top of the line Mindshift Rotation 180 Pro is around $400. So for a sling bag. And the only thing I can see from the reviews and the photographs is that it still looks like a backpack, even if you sling that around the front. If you're concerned about safety, or if you're concerned about being a target, and that's a really big concern for you, even this sling bag probably would not suit you. The nondescript messenger bags, which I can tell you stories about chicken buses in Guatemala where there's 400 people on the bus, and somehow they make room for one more. And I have that messenger bag on my, strapped to my chest like this, with people in every conceivable position around me, squishing me in. And I could not even begin to do that with a backpack because I just couldn't carry it like that.
That's true. That is, and safety is one thing that I think about too. But it's funny you mentioned that Vanguard. I came across that same one. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I saw drone, I just kind of overlooked it.
Right.
Because right now I am not interested in drones. And maybe for another show, I'll say why. Because I have found that, and I'll leave it for another show. They can interfere with shots more if you're trying to do a shoot somewhere, and then all of a sudden you say, "Is that a little remote helicopter?" Oh, it's a drone. Okay, I guess I have to Photoshop out.
I was in Seattle a couple months ago, or actually last year. It's been that in July. I was at the Gasworks, which is a famous waterfront park that has this old gas company pipe. And it's really rusted and it's industrial looking, and it's a great backdrop there. And the Canadian geese were in there by the hundreds. And I'm trying to take a picture of the Canadian geese in the foreground with this rusted out old gas plant in the back. And here comes this drone. Zzz, right. And it just hovered right there as if the guy was trying to annoy me. And if he was, he did a very good job.
Yeah. So, but I did, and I came out, I think another one, I can't remember another brand I haven't heard of. It was called K&F. And there's one on a video I saw where a guy literally just gets a big cup of water and just throws it on the bag and it just repels it. I think that was the KNF one. And then I wanted to bring up two more. A think tank you brought up. Another interesting camera bag manufacturer was called Peak Designs. It seems like they're doing some interesting things. I think most of theirs were shoulder. I could be wrong. So you have all of this competition now, which it's good because innovation, they're pushing things.
Right.
But right now I'm looking for a backpack because I want to be going up to Northern California. Right now I'm thinking maybe taking the Amtrak, leaving here in the Valley and just going up there and going either to Eureka or Humboldt. I think the train they're close in vicinity, I believe. So that's something I'm looking about because how I put goodies I put in my backpack, I'll put a few lenses. I'll make sure flash will fit in there. Of course, battery charger, your cards and everything. And believe it or not, I will carry my little tactical light. And I have what's called it's a Nightcore EC20. My good friend, John Mason, I'm going to give a shout out to him, gave me some good advice on getting that. And what I like about having a tactical light with me, it has these little lens kit with it, and I'll put on the red lens. So when I'm doing night photography,
right,
you use the red, so
you're not blinded, right?
Exactly,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
And why I like this tactical light over getting one of those headlamps, I prefer it because you can look around your surroundings. Because when you do night photography, you have to be somewhere where there's zero light pollution usually to get your best results. And you're out in the middle of nowhere where it's dark. So I prefer maybe being old school and having that tactical light because it's like a 920 lumens light, which it is bright. And I also use it sometimes to get creative and do my painting. I'll do what's called light painting.
Right. I was in the Treasure Island in the Golden Gate area taking photographs of the new Bay Bridge at night, and there was a boat in the harbor there, and I could see it, but it was moving and blurring really badly. So I was painting it with the flashlight so that I could get a still image of it. So that's a really great technique. And believe me, even in urban environments, when you're at night, you want a little bit of a tactical light. Yeah. Because there's things that go bump in the night.
Yes. And give you a little story. Before I bought it, I was with Brandon, a friend of mine, and this other gal. She was part of our photo group. I think her name was Lauren. And we went to the Yoko Valley area one night, and the fog was starting to come in, but it disappeared. And we were out there. It was pitch dark. And we were doing these night scenes. I think I got one of the pictures on my Instagram where she's by this sign that's got all these bullet holes in it. So that's another part why I got the tactical light. We were doing these trick shots where she was walking, and then we would do a slow flash, and you would get that movement at the night.
Right.
Well, she freaked out. Something came too close to her. And out there, you'll hear packs of coyotes. They usually do not come near you.
Right.
But if you're not used to hearing, 3, 4 to 5 coyotes howl at night, some people get a little bit uncomfortable. So having that light with me, literally with that light, I could point something almost a quarter of a mile away.
Yeah.
So it's pretty powerful. The other reason about the bullet holes on the sign, unfortunately, some of those more obscure places, you get some guys will go out there and they're having too much to drink and they got these high powered rifles. And for some reason, they love shooting fence posts to death. They got something against fence posts. So the way I look at it, if I have a strong beam, I'm letting somebody know, hey, there's somebody there. Now, hopefully they're not that drunk that they'll shoot at the light.
Let's hope not.
But, it's just letting people know, hey, I'm here. Please, and so that's another reason I take it. So I kind of want a bag to take all that Eventually, I want to get a smaller tripod to hook on the thing. But right now, I got a monopod. But if you're going to do night photography, my current tripod works great. It's even though it was one of the early Manfrotto mag fiber ones, kind of like their carbon fiber.
Yeah.
It's not much lighter than my old Manfrotto aluminum.
Right.
So it is sturdy, but it is a little bit heavy. But I like how those smaller ones fit on the bag. You have everything there. Mm-hmm. I think on the other side, you could put a water bottle on these. And what's nice about the all weather, because some of the places I've been to, even though it's not a rainy day, but I've been at the coast, like at Cambria, where you have a lot of trees and you're walking through there. It's almost like a little forest. The dew and all the wetness, you have these big drops falling on you when you're hiking. So it's nice to protect your gear.
Exactly. The Yokel Valley that you mentioned, for those of you that don't know, is a rather local favorite of people in the Visalia, Fresno, Bakersfield area. It's a valley on the eastern frontier of the Sierra Nevadas there, and it's a little valley. It's beautiful, and it's only a few minutes away. And I'll tell you what, something that I've run into shooting night photography, especially in the summer, is snakes.
Oh yes,
and they aren't. Sometimes they don't advertise their presence, and so it's always good to be able to see where you're walking.
Exactly.
And, I've always been told that they always bite the second guy through, so you're welcome to lead the way anytime, Tony.
It's funny you mentioned that. Earlier this year, when things were green, when everybody was telling me, go up Dry Creek,
yeah.
And I did, and I found a great place, and I was going lead. And there was some trees, there was a tree, and there was some the foliage that fell.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going there, and I'm hearing something muffled, almost like a rattle under newspapers. That makes sense. I kind of stopped, and the lady I was with me, she goes, I heard that. That can't be good. And I said, just turn around and we'll just go
back.
So I can see that, because rattlesnakes kind of come low to that area. That's their neighborhood. That's where they hang, and we're the intruder. And at night, when it's warm in the day, they're out there prowling around looking for a meal, and got to be aware of it. Yeah.
Man, photography takes you to some unusual places, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does. And that's why having a kind of a multi-purpose bag, because I have found you never know what you're going to run up against.
Or run from.
Yes. And again, the tactical light, you get 920 lumens flashed in your eyes. You're going to stop something for a while.
Right. Well, there's another bag that, speaking of innovation and competition, there's one more bag that I've seen. I looked at it, and it's basically a cross between a camera bag and a piece of luggage that has the rollabout that has the handle built into it. But it's specifically designed for photo gear. So instead of a suitcase, it's got all the compartments, for camera gear. I kind of like that. That might be something that put that in your toolbox for travel. And if a particular type of travel would lend itself to that style, that would be a great addition. And that's something I'm looking at right now. The Lowepro has one called the Lowepro Pro Roller X200 AW. I think you and I need to go to work for these people, because we can certainly come up with a better name, shorter names that instead of 14 words and 6 numbers and what have you.
Yeah, that's true. That's kind of one thing I liked when Steve Jobs came back to Apple. He says, your product line is too convoluted. Let's just have, your Mac Pro, an iMac, and a low-end Mac Mini. Period.
Done.
In these lines, you could have, here's your Pro line, and you're like, not to say prosumer, it could be pro quality, but you don't need it to go underwater.
Right.
here. And then you have your entry level for your smaller cameras and everything. And that's it. And then you could have like the 3 types of the backpack, the fanny one.
The fanny packs. Yeah. I guess in my travels that a fanny pack is the surest way to being identified as not living here.
Oh, yeah.
By the way.
Just ease out these weird long names because that's why I have to write them down. And then I remember I was going to go up to Horn Photo. So I texted my friend up there who works for them, Rudy, and I go, do you have this? And I had mid-text stop, go back to Low-Pro's website, copy, and just paste because the name is so long.
Right. And if you get one letter off or one number off, you have an entirely different bag that it's $100 difference in price and isn't what you expect.
So I wish they would do that. And then if I would give any advice to anybody, and be careful some of these YouTube videos, because this is something I've kind of wanted to bring up for a while. Some of these guys, they get equipment sent to them, which is great, and they could review it. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you'll have bag A, or it could be anything, bag B and bag C. They really don't say which one, in their opinion, is the best. Mm-hmm. They'll kind of say, but this, feel like this, because I could see because they're being sent this stuff.
Right.
And you kind of don't, and that's, I could see how everything's subjective, but you would say, hey, Tony, which bag do you like the most? I'd just say this one. Why? Because this. Yeah, the other one's okay, but this is what I would pick, and just give that honest opinion. And so sometimes you kind of have to watch out because there may be something specific that you want, and maybe they don't review it, or they give something else this, like, oh, this one's okay and this one's okay. They all do the same thing. Yes, they all do, but one particular one's going to do something better,
right?
And just say it.
Right.
And that's how come I'll watch them, but I get frustrated, and I find the ones that the guys blog online, mm-hmm. I get more information from. Yeah, I'm going to read the old-fashioned way, but there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, well, as a blogger, I appreciate that.
So I think we could wrap it up there.
Well, I want to close by talking about the passing of a important person to Nikon's history. And you may not realize it, but there was a photographer named David Douglas Duncan, who was a life photographer, mostly a war correspondent in the 50s and 60s and the 40s for World War II. And he was, by many accounts, single-handedly responsible for making Nikon a household word in the United States by discovering the Nikon lens during his tour in Korea. He carried Leicas and Zeiss lenses, and Nikon said, hey, come to Japan in our factory and we'll show you what we're doing. And he went there and looked at the test results and was impressed, put one on his camera, and he never turned back. And he became an ambassador, or I guess we would use the word evangelist now, for the Nikon lenses and made them well known in America. He had a long, good life, and he passed away recently. And I wanted just to say thank you, Mr. Duncan, for making us Nikon fans today. And we owe a lot to him and his contribution to the Nikon family. Mr. David Douglas Duncan.
Great, yeah. Sad to see. It's a lot of, let's say passings, this year. I like to do one of these days. I want to do a little tribute to our mutual friend, Mr. TMC, Terry McGraw. But yeah, where can we find you?
You can find a website, www.brightangelimages.com. And you have that Facebook page, Bright Angel Images, and on Facebook, and Instagram is Bright Angel _images. And that's it. And by the way, how can people that listen to our podcast, how they contact us? Because I'm getting questions sent to me, and I want to make sure that we answer their questions.
Oh, yes. I'm going to be working on a Facebook page.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to get that up before the show ends. I did get criticized. They asked me, Tony, how come you don't allow the comments on your WordPress site? And I said, that would be great. And it sometimes works. But I got to the point where I would get literally 20 to 50 spam things a day that I have to go through that.
And delete.
And it got to the point where it became a chore.
Wow.
And so I said, in a perfect world, that'd be great. But I'm going to try to create a Facebook page. I'm going to do it. And I will also link that there just for that and try, and that'd be a good, like, little forum.
All right. Super. Looking forward to it.
So that's what I'm going to do. But right now you can still find me at the OvilistStudios.com, where I'll be posting the shows. Instagram, TonyAvilist64. You could also find me. I'll have my Facebook link there, even though I don't go onto Facebook, but I will do it for the Aperture Priority Show.
Yeah, right.
That's something I've been wanting to do.
Good.
So I will try to bribe some Facebook friend. It may cost me a few beers or a dinner, and they'll help me get it together. But I just kind of want to leave off to open up that aperture and let some creative light in.
Aperture Priority is an Avila Studios production. For more information on what Avila Studios has to offer, please visit us on the World Wide Web at avilastudios.com.